Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another one of our live stream webinars. I'm Frank Costantino. I am the Assistant Vice President of Academics for the Costantino of New York at Monroe College. And I'm also have my YouTube channel here, The Chef Doctor, where I share some cooking techniques and a lot of a variety of things pertaining to cooking and the food business. And I'm very proud to be doing this webinar today, and I'm welcoming our ProStart group and our CCAP group and our potential Costantino New York students, our alumni. We know we have a lot of people coming to tune in today from different areas and different walks, but hopefully we're going to be able to get something interesting to you today. One of the suggestions from one of our ProStart educators was to do something on stretching a meal and making a meal where you can make two or three different things out of one particular element. And that's right up my alley. It's a perfect topic. And I thought I'd start that topic with a discussion on the restaurant business, right? Anyone that is a restaurant professional will tell you how difficult the business is, right? How hard it is to make money in the restaurant business. You have to really be savvy, right? So the first thing that you have to do is you have to go to school, right? You have to get an education on the management of running a business, right? Of running a restaurant. So I thought what I would do this morning is talk about a little bit about costs of running a restaurant and then tie that into my demo today, which is going to be taking a roast chicken and making three different meals with that roast chicken. And actually, I might even do a fourth meal. I haven't told my colleagues here, my two sons that are working the camera and the moderation here, my son Jake and my son Frankie. But we may add a fourth dish to that. So let's talk about the restaurant business a little bit. So you're making money, right? You got a restaurant, you've got sales, you got stuff coming in, right? It's all good, yeah. My first question is, how much of this dollar in sales that you generate, right, are you actually able to keep as profit, right? I ask that question when I teach my restaurant operations class because it's important for us to have a perspective on what we're talking about, right? How much actual profit do we get for every dollar in sales that we generate, right? Would be my first question. And my second question would be, what's the largest percentage of cost in a restaurant, right? What's costing us the most to run a restaurant, right? So the first thing I want to say is the first element. Did we get any answers to that question about how much of this dollar we keep at the end of the day? Okay, some people might say 30 cents of the dollar is profit. Some might say 50, right? Some might say 10 cents on the dollar is profit. We're going to take a look and see, right? The first thing is, what's our biggest expense? The biggest expense is labor, right, in a restaurant. So let's go ahead and take the labor cost out of the equation here, okay? And that's where we are right now. So 30% or 30 cents on a dollar goes to labor, right? But labor is just the payment of the wages, right? There are other things that we pay for personnel, right, for labor, and those are payroll taxes, right, and healthcare benefits.
We have an answer. Brandon Spence said 2 cents.
2 cents, Brandon. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Brandon
We're
got
gonna
2
take a
cents.
look, Brandon. Thank you. So let's go ahead and take out the payroll taxes, right? And the healthcare benefits that we're paying to our employees, right? So that's another 6% here, okay? All right. So we've established the most expensive element of running a restaurant. What's the second most? So labor is the first. What's our second? Give you a chance to answer that. I want you to think about what we actually sell at the restaurant, right? Do we sell service? Do we sell food and beverage, right? So let's see if anybody had food as the second largest cost, right? So let's go ahead and take that out. So food, there goes another 30 cents, right? And actually 30 cents would be 30% food cost. And in a restaurant, that's actually pretty good, right? Sometimes we say 32 is a good number, but we're going to use 30% here, and we're going to take that out of the dollar as well, right? So far, Okay, we lost about 60% or 60 cents in terms of expenses. We're left with 40. How much of this are we going to keep? Well, there's some other things here, right? How about utilities, right? Gas, electric. How about repairs and maintenance, right? You have to do some marketing for your business, right? You have to maybe even pay somebody to do marketing, right? So we're going to take 8 cents on this of this dollar away for utilities and marketing expenses. Right?
Joanna Parsons said rent.
Oh, we're going to get to rent. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the food costs, right? But there are other things that we purchase in a restaurant, aren't there, that we use for operations, right? Cleaning supplies, right? Linen, employee uniforms, tablecloths, perhaps, if that's the kind of restaurant you're operating in, right? Those are called direct operating expenses, right? You buy flowers, right, for your tables, you buy decor, etc. And that adds up, folks. Cleaning supplies, paper products, 10 cents on the dollar. Let's go ahead and take another 10% out of this dollar here. Wow. Mhm. Okay. So we have a business, right? We have accounting, we have legal, we have things that we have, maybe some consulting, maybe there's other things that we do. We call these administrative and general expenses, right? You got to pay professionals to assist in the operating of your business, and that's 4%, right? Typically, it's another 4 cents on the dollar that we're getting rid of. Hmm. So do we get to keep this now finally, right? This 15% or this 15 cents? That would be cool, right? Well, no, right? Somebody said, who said rent?
Joanna Parsons. And Taylor
Joanna.
Johnson as well.
Taylor, and you're right on. And 10% is about the level we want to be at for rent. No more than that of your annual sales, 10%. Otherwise, you're really going to have a problem. So 10% goes to rent, right? Now it's coming together. Wow. All right. So we got something going on here. Oh, I'm taking this apart very gingerly because there's not much left here, right? Now we got our prop, not yet, right? We took some money out of a loan to start our business, right? We took a loan from the bank, yeah? And guess what? The bank is going to collect something right from you on that loan. Besides the money that they lent you, they're going to collect interest, right? Got to take the interest out of here. Sometimes 1 to 2%. I'm really working my way down here. Oh, man. That was like cutting a julienne out of this dollar. I can't even do that. I'm going to fold this. That's how desperate this situation is right now on this dollar. So we are left with our sliver here. And finally, we've got some profit, right? And that's about 5 cents or 5%, right? And if you're doing 5 or 6% profit, that's actually excellent in the business. Now, obviously, you say, well, what am I going to do with 5 cents? Well, we did a dollar, right? But if you've got $10 million in sales, right, you do the math, okay? So that's a sizable profit at the end of the year. But this is what we're working for, folks. And it's important to understand that. What we're going to go after today are two things. One, we're going to talk directly and show you some demos on how to handle this chunk here, which is our food and beverage costs, right? And I want to speak to for a moment about training, okay? The training is critical, right? Having a staff that are effective, that work really well, that are very skilled, right? You want to hire people that come from a culinary school or a culinary program because they have the background, they understand, right? They have the skill set. You want to hire a Culinary Institute of New York graduate because they're top of the game, right? You want employees that are going to make an impact that you can train and they can be effective. They understand the importance of food safety and waste and things like that. So that's very important. So can't express enough the important elements of hiring good staff that understand how to operate and how to cook. And I want to go after food costs, right? And I want to tell you one of the things that affects the restaurant business the most. And I can remember one of my students in my master's program, Chris Villa, did his master's thesis on what was the factor that made most restaurants fail, right? And he determined it was sanitation. And that's interesting, right? Because we have a different definition of sanitation. We understand sanitation is washing our hands, right? Temperature control, all very important. But I want to give you a broader definition of sanitation today. Sanitation is about protecting the food, right? And that has to do with waste, right? Okay, we don't often think about that when we hear the term sanitation. We're washing our hands, we're making a sani bucket, we're cleaning everything. But sanitation is critical. Controlling waste in a restaurant is critical, right? And that leads us into today's demo, right? Which we're going to take a roast chicken and show you a couple of different things to do with that. So let me go ahead and clean this up. Okay, we had some students that got some right answers. That's very good.
I also wanted to give Dominic Zara credit. He was the closest with 6 cents.
Dominic Zara paid attention in restaurant operations class. That's good to hear. Thanks, Dom. Let me wash my hands real quick. And we'll get started here. Okay, so I took this morning a whole chicken. Okay, this is right out of the supermarket chicken, right? It's about 4.5 pounds. The cost on this chicken was $7.30, right? One whole chicken. This is all natural, no hormones, no preservatives, good quality chicken. I'll show you what I did with this chicken. So this morning, I took the chicken out of the refrigerator. I seasoned it with salt and pepper, okay? And I roasted it, okay? And I want to tell you, I was basting it, but the reality was I wasn't doing any of those things, right? I seasoned the chicken on the surface. I seasoned inside the cavity of the chicken. I put a little bit of fresh thyme in the chicken, very simple, right? But I did tie off the legs here with a little bit of kitchen twine, right? To give the chicken a nice form for the cooking and to keep it to cook evenly, right? I cooked it to an internal temperature of 160 and I took it out of the oven. I let it rest. I just popped it in briefly just to warm it up a little bit for the fabrication process. This is a simple roast chicken in the same pan that I used to roast it in, okay? And it took about an hour to get to 160 internal. When I did the checking of the chicken on the thermometer, I went in through the leg and to the thigh. So I hit both the leg and thigh meat and took that to 160. Okay? So we're going to break this down, okay, and show you a couple of different things here. So first I'm going to cut my string. Again, just a little piece of twine around the legs just to hold it together. Okay, I'm going to make sure we get that out. And discard that. We don't want that to find its way into our dish today. Okay, we're going to take our chicken. I want to maintain all the juices in the pan. Okay, and we're going to go to this cutting board here. We're going to show you how to break this down. So the first thing I want to do on the roasted chicken, I just want to take off my leg and thigh portion. And because the chicken is cooked fully, it's actually easy to do that. So I'm going to pull back down on the leg and thigh. All right. It's coming right off the joint nice and easy. We're going to go ahead and cut this through. Okay. And I'm going to separate the leg and thigh at the drum. And we're going to put this on the side for our first preparation today. And we'll do the same thing with the other leg and thigh portion here. Take that off as well. Right through. Got another bowl for that because we're going to do something else with that. So that's already, I've got my leg and thigh separated out into two for two different preparations. Okay. Next, I want to go after my breast here. Okay. And the design of this demo today is to show you how we might be able to get, right, 4 portions of 3 different or 4 different dishes perhaps, right, from our roast chicken here. So I'm going to come, this chicken's nice and moist, it's cooked perfectly. Okay. And I know it was cooked well because my dog Spot is right here and he's ready for some scraps. So we're going to see, maybe we're going to give him a little something, I don't know. Right? I am cooking at home after all. So. And Spot lives with us. He's got to be taken care of. So we take our breast, number 1 off. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and remove the wing, and that actually is going to go into my other bowl as well. We'll take our breast here, and we're going to go ahead and get this other breast off. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm finding the joint between the leg and thigh. I'm sorry, between the wing and the breast, and I'm going ahead and cutting that right through the joint, right, to remove all that meat. Okay, and that's my second breast here, and we're going to go ahead and cut that wing and put that in our other bowl. Okay, and that's my second breast. And you can see the moisture content here, still beautiful and moist. Okay. So we have our two breasts, and that's going to make up the bulk of our first dish that we're going to do for you, featuring the breast meat. But I also have now the leg and thigh portion here, and the wing, and the leg and thigh portion here, and the wing, and we're going to show you a couple different dishes with these. But you know what? I've got a couple other things to work with here, and this is about protecting the food. A lot of times we see this goes in the garbage. It's hard, right? It's hard for me to see that, right? Because there's such good meat left on the carcass here, right? I'm going to put that meat in this little bowl here for you. And maybe we're going to come back and do something special with this meat, right? I'm taking it all off, okay? If I go to the underside, I've got more meat here. In fact, I've got the oyster muscles here and some residual meat here. I got the oyster muscle here. Put that there. I got some skin here. I'm going to put on the side. I think I got a taker for that skin. All right, and we're going to put that here. I'm going to the back here. I'm taking the meat off the shoulder blades, and I got a nice portion of meat here that I can use. Okay, for that, and some bones. Okay. Now I'm left with my carcass. I have a little bit of fat here. Okay. Now, because I season this, I need to be careful, right? I am going to put this into a stock, but I want to be mindful of the fact that I seasoned the chicken, so there's a salt content here. We typically don't season the stocks when we make a stock, but I'm using this really more to fortify the stock that I have. So I'm taking all of these bones. I'm going to put them in this pot here of chicken stock, and I'm going to give this piece to my dog here, Spot. Here you go, buddy. Okay, so he's happy now. All right. So we have our chicken fabricated into its component parts. We are going to wipe off our cutting board, and we're going to continue with the process here. Now, I also have my pan that I cooked the chicken in, and we're going to start to put that on the fire here as well.
Dominic Zara asks, can you use the bones for stock?
Yes, we're going to use the bones to fortify a stock here, which we're going to come back to in a little while and show you a couple things that we can do with that. Okay? So, all right. So we have chicken leg and thigh and wing in two different bowls. We have our chicken breast. We have our pan of chicken stock, which we added the roasted chicken bones to fortify this chicken stock, so we get some flavor in there, which we're going to come back to. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and make our first dish.